Kim Possible, who is the guardian.
I'm just letting it roll today. You must really like me today.
Listen,
like on your crap list or something?
I got friends in low places, man. No, of course, not at all. So no, I didn't mean it like that. So Miss Kim Possible, who's the guardian of global assets, she's the head of the global repository. She is also the director of the GIA and about a million other things, including the ambassador for the planet. So we're going to hear some of the amazing things her team's been working on. So what's going on, Miss Possible? Miss Possible.
Lots. Want me to join you there?
I don't know how to do it. I'm not in control of it. Lisa is. And so I tried to, I said spotlight both of us, but she said no. She said just.
You're both spotlighted. You're both, I can see you both on my screen. Can everybody else see Tank and Kim on my screen?
There you go.
Now I can.
Yes.
Now I can. I don't know why I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys have been, actually I'll unpin Kelly because he's done. So, okay, we're good.
So
you guys are both there.
We'll start with how is everyone right now? I told you last week through the 22nd, it's going to be really rough. We have a lot of reports of people not sleeping. Me being one of them. I got woken up at a little after midnight and still been up ever since. There's a lot of reports of people having bad dreams, strange dreams, bizarre thoughts, bizarre dreams, people in your peripheral going a little bit off the deep end. I know I've said this before, but this is all ties back to that meeting in Antarctica, and we'll talk about that in a second. But so just remember, breathe, stay grounded, sleep when you can sleep, play those healing frequencies. They do help. There are some for sleep. There's some for healing and whatnot. I hope after today, that will kind of subside a little bit. I hope even for myself, that kind of subsides a little bit. But I knew going into this month that it was going to be a battle through at least the 22nd. So the more we win, the more backlash there is, right? So you probably noticed we got Omicron, right? And a bunch of other stuff and lockdowns and things going on all over the world, extended travel issues in the US and other countries. Vaccine mandates are real. They're not real. We can get an exception. We can't get an exception. Some state governors and whatnot are fighting back. Some aren't. And even though a federal judge said that they were not mandates, they're still going for it anyway. And that really ramped up on Monday, right? Yesterday, which seems like it was about a week and a half ago right now in my world. But on Monday, the reason why is because there were some more epic failures over the weekend and over the last few days. So the more we succeed, the harder they push toward absolutely nothing.
Kim, you said today, and you told me something specific happened very early this morning. Do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, we can talk about that, and then we can go into a little bit of what we've achieved this week. But I want to start with something that did happen the other day that we discovered. So the closer we get to pushing forward with funds and our freedom, right? Because it's really about us being self-governing and moving forward without them 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've had a lot of time to put in a lot of blocks and different measures, right? So one thing we found, I think it was probably late last week, was another connection to the space stations. Okay, so even though we gained control of the 24 space stations, that doesn't mean we cleaned up all the programming, right? We did the best we could. We thought we took everything out, but there was a company that was still getting information and using the supercomputers that are on the space station, collecting data from not only the banking system, which is where we found them initially, but also a bunch of other systems. Now, they couldn't really affect what was going on, but they were collecting the data, which then alerted everything that's wrong with this world, right? Let's call them the bad humans, right? Cabal, whatever you want to call them. So that's a company called Candle Corp out of California. They are a database system management company. We also found another company out of Switzerland, but they're kind of a global company called GLOO. We also had some involvement from a company in Austria called DIEHL. They are also a software company, coincidentally tied to things like smart meters and water meters and a few other things too. So the amount of monitoring is ridiculous. We also found Google has a new software and programming and database monitoring system called GO. It's a type of programming. We found them in the banking system this week, past week as well. So Candle Corp figured out they were the only ones still collecting the data, like the CERN-like facilities were and a bunch of other facilities. And they were disconnected, obviously, from that. And that database is now held someplace else. It was redirected. It took them a few days to figure it out that they weren't getting the data anymore and that it was completely disconnected. And that was on Sunday.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so then the crazy began again, right? Because they thought they had this. They keep thinking that they're going to have a database to tie to these nanoviruses and whatnot that they're putting into everyone. So we don't want to really go too much into that. Tank covers that pretty well, and everything that's going on with that. All right. So we all have heard, it's all a buzz about the internet and the alt media about meetings in Antarctica, right? All the wingnuts are there. All the people we know and appreciate their murderous ability, I guess. So they did manage to get a hold of a group. And if you understand how collective consciousness, people think of collective consciousness like me and you and humans on Earth, but it's not really true. We're all connected in the multiverse through this same plasma consciousness. Right? And for people that are aware or others that are aware, anyone that's aware on how to use that consciousness to connect to you could be involved in the issues that we're all having, right? Or is involved in the issues we're all having. So people will see like their own mother coming after them, trying to kill them or something in a dream. It's not their mother, it's these others that are in a far off place. They're not here. And so they did manage to connect to one group that offered some assistance. This lasted about 3 or 4 days. So this group of people would be what you would consider neutral, but they did work with them in the past, in the Secret Space Force in the past. And I would say that they were involved in some agreements in the past, indirectly. And I would say that they don't really have emotions, right? So they don't really care one way or another. So they're listening to these folks and their plans of operations that they plan to send out orders to militaries and agencies and other places around the world, right? And they're going, this was about 2-3 days ago, Sunday. Maybe this species isn't worth saving after all. They're listening because they're that crazy down there. I mean, there is absolutely nothing, even if we were Dr. Evil, right? If you were the most evil person on earth and you decided to run an operation, their operations are still not going to work. So, it's like saying Hoover Dam is leaking. Well, I have a banana. Okay. And your point, right?
And they're under the impression, at least from their past experience, like this is the best humanity has to offer kind of thing from these people, right? Is that the previous?
Well, from humanity, these were the rulers, right? So they would always talk to the rulers. Well, fortunately for us, a phone call was placed to the others that normally inhabit the North and South Pole areas. And they made a call to them and a little conversation ensued around midnight, which I got pulled into. So I got to have that conversation. So it's been a really long day for me. So sorry if I'm a little bit slow. Not enough tea on the planet to make this happen right now. So I'm doing the best I can for you guys. So anyway, I I got pulled into this conversation, and they were basically telling them that they're not the rulers anymore. You know, they never were the rulers. They were always order takers from other folks, which were the same people that these people also took orders from time to time, right? So
Had slaves.
head slaves, right? So long and the short of it was, they kind of went around 2 or 3 hours later. They decided that they were just going to go neutral and they weren't going to help these people anymore, which is good for us. So hopefully that means, because all of this, okay, so people talk about different programs within the CIA, and I forget the one where they gave everybody LSD. It's like in that movie, I think it's called Project Midnight was one of them. There's a number of different programs and projects that they did. So in order for these folks to interfere with collective consciousness without a machine that they got from someone else, they have to ask for help. They cannot do it on their own. You could, if you practice, you actually could. Remember, don't interfere with free will, okay? Once you break the rules.
Right, there's ramifications, right?
Right. So anyway, there's a lot of, don't follow the rules, right? Natural law. It's very important. Anyway, the issue with these people is they can't. So they call in other groups that do have equipment or are able to affect the collective consciousness. And they lost that ability this morning very, very early. So this group down there has now fired up because the military's starting to question. So you have some that are still going along with the orders and doing everything they're supposed to be doing. This is worldwide, by the way. This is also in Australia. This is in Russia. This is everywhere. Okay, England, no exception. There's a select group, and that group is getting smaller and smaller that are following orders and instructions from the weirdos that are down in Antarctica. Okay, so what did they do this week? Well, they decided in the last week or so to bring up a group, a very small group or an unknown group called the SES. They are called the Senior Executive Services Branch. They do have security clearances, but the interesting part is that they're civilians. They're not government quote unquote employees, and they're predominantly British. If you Google them, you're going to have to search deep now because it paints them out to be like some corporate assister people. They assist corporations or something, and that couldn't be further from the truth. These people act as a private mercenary group, always have. They recently took over the facility in New York that monitors the entire banking system worldwide, at least all major institutions. So we are aware of that. We know exactly how they're doing that with an electromagnetic laser, how do you say, interceptor, right?
Wow.
So that's one of the things that we've been working on and continue to work on today. So we're also aware that the SES is involved with a lot of the major vaccine companies. They report to the Crown, the Rothschildians, and the other people always have, always been big protectors of the Federal Reserve and all of their institutions here in the United States and around the world. The SES appears to be a British civilian force, okay, but we would also call them the fifth column. They are, they are your MIBs. They are the source of last resort, so to speak. So they are hard at work now, have been for about 5 or 6 days, maybe a little bit longer, but they've been in and out of all of these facilities for quite a long time. They're kind of like that force, sort of like, they infiltrate everything and then just wait until someone pulls the ripcord. Well, they pulled the ripcord. So now they're hard at work trying to not only block people from getting funding, they're also trying to siphon money out of the banking system. The Treasury Department has been told to find the money anywhere but me for the government budget extension or whatever through February, right? So the Space Force is hard at work trying to make something happen. Now, the plan was never a plan. It was never going to work, and is not going to change anything other than the fact that they've woken up more and more people as the days go by. We do have an uptick in the last, 30 to 60 days or so of people that have gotten vaccinated, mainly due to, keeping their jobs or whatnot. But it's still, there's still less than 50% of the population that has been affected. They currently do not have a way to control those nanobots. And they only have a lifespan of 3 to 4 months. So I will repeat that again.
Oh,
Yeah, their technology is flawed. Northrop Grumman technology.
which is in Pennsylvania. There's one in Pennsylvania and Israel.
Oh, I don't know. Well, oh yeah, I forgot about the system in Pennsylvania. Yeah, that was run by an underground group calling themselves the Minutemen.
How odd. So
Yeah,
just to clarify, because I don't want people confused, the nanites from point of activation to
they're archons.
injection,
Yeah, they're
archons.
artificial intelligence. Mhm.
They have a lifespan of 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, the old ones lasted at least 2 to 3 years, and they would get a fresh supply every year around this time, actually. They haven't gotten that supply in over 3 years now, so what's left is dying off. And the ones that they're using now, and they're spraying in the sky, and the vaccinated are spreading, and they're in the vaccines and everywhere. They have a lifespan of about 3 to 4 months tops.
That's really encouraging news, I think, to a lot of people, if I understand you correctly. So these nanites, this is coming in the next version of the vaccine, or it's already been in the vaccines, right?
Mhm.
And this has been causing all types of problems. Now, it doesn't mean there's not a potential for harm in the first 3 to 4 months. And there's other things in the vaccines that are also dangerous, but those are removable. Whereas the archons, 3 to 4 months, that's definitely encouraging, because most people don't think that any of that damage can be undone. So
Yeah.
at least there's a much stronger possibility than what we thought before, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's getting better and better. But the main thing is that an AI is only, it will search out and look for, how do you say, weak points in your system, right? But the effectiveness and the controlling of them is a whole nother story. So that was another thing that happened this week. This facility that was underground in Pennsylvania was designed to try to do this with the Omicron virus, right? Omicron, or whatever you call it. There was a similar facility under South Africa that is also not working anymore. Neither facility is actually functioning at this moment in time, and we moved on back to computer systems. So Google is now out of the banking system. Their geo-programming and their branding, which was part of the social credit system, is not in there anymore. So that's a positive. We are scanning and looking for it in any medical system that may pop up, courtesy of the former World Health Organization. Yep. So the SES is in full force now. The British invasion is real again.
So that's it. That's big. So I can actually post the current list of the SES for anybody who'd like to know the names, or at least the most updated one, which I think is 2018. In case anybody wants to see if they know any of those people.
If they're still there, yeah.
But this is basically British intelligence and various mercenaries that are employed as part of the United States government, and really the collective.
Well, they're given clearance by the US government to do whatever they want. Very high clearance normally, by the way. They claim to not be in the FBI, CIA, and all of these organizations, but that's completely false. Most of the time, people of any position of power in those organizations also belong to the SES. So call it what it is. An accent may not be there, right, from a foreign person, but they're all the same group, really.
And weren't they running, now the SES, or this same group, was running what was the secrets CIA, which is really the SES, right? and they were the ones that were trying to run the New Republic out of Rockefeller Center in New York for a long time. And I know that they were doing like, they were the ones running the exchange and things like that. Is that the same
The
group?
one
or-
in France, you mean, that Dunford was going to launch the New Republic? That one?
Yeah, that New Republic was being run out of Rockefeller Center. That's where Dick Cheney. Now he was on-
Dick.
yeah, don't be a dick. Yeah, it did not serve him well. So
Yep. So, okay. But there are a lot of good things going on. So we have all of these issues happening, but we have a lot of milestones that we're crossing as well, as the human race. We have days of delivery. They try to stop us from going through these processes, right? We have different energy grids that are falling down just based out of time. You know, it's all timing, right? It's just when they were installed. It's like,
days of delivery. Can you explain that? Like what that means? Like days of delivery, is that a thing?
covenants and contracts expiring.
Gotcha.
Yep, which get
I
us.
thought
one
days
step
of delivery was
closer.
like a specific thing all by itself. Sorry, go ahead.
It is, it was, yeah, 7th and 8th, actually, today and tomorrow. Celebration of collective energy grid clearing. These things are going on today. Maybe that's why this meeting took place today and why they don't think that humans need sleep, namely me. That's
An
okay.
hour, that's all you get, if that.
Yeah, it was pretty short, that's for sure. But the closer we get to these days, the next one is coming up on the 11th. We'll talk about that after the 11th. But there are little milestones that we're going to go through, and they're doing everything they can to stop it. So the old controllers, I guess you would say. There are people that are talking now about things that we talked about years ago, right? Or I talked about years ago with the mantids and the Draco and whatever. You know, they're not, there's deals that have been made or quarantines that have happened. And I went and we did have a council meeting earlier today. Pretty much this was the last one that was involved here that even would have had any kind of influence or able to have any kind of influence that would be willing to go against any organic life form, so to speak, to gain any kind of power or control. So they're kind of on their own. So lucky for us, if you listen to the back chatter of these meetings that are going on down there, you would say to yourself the same thing I said to myself, is like, wow, I'm sure lucky to be a part of Life Force, and I'm lucky to have these people, because if those people were in charge, we're in deep doo-doo, right?
That's very true.
Yeah. So yeah, there are ongoing meetings of the portion of the military that wants to move forward, that is no longer believing in their former controllers. They're growing in numbers, not just in the US. This is a global thing. Police departments are not wanting to follow orders and whatnot. I mean, things are changing rapidly. Yeah, with those folks not wanting to force vaccinate people. Australia, the reason why they're pushing that so hard, and also in Papua New Guinea and in other places in that region. Papua New Guinea, just so you know, is baby Australia. Whatever happens in Australia happens in Papua New Guinea. So they are talking about vaccination camps and all of this stuff, and they're still on lockdown over there. It is a social experiment for the entire world. They've always been a place for social experiment for the entire world. What will the world accept? The China deep state is heavily involved, namely the CCP and the Order of the Black Sun in China. The Black Dragon is very involved down there in Australia. Also, the Blue Dragons, which are your Rothschilds and your British, right, are very, very involved in Australia as well, with all kinds of social experiments they do. So this, unfortunately, is currently a social experiment to see what they can get the rest of the world to buy. This farce coming out of South Africa with the controlled nanites that they tried to feed all those people down there, and then therefore spread, fizzled out very quickly. The reason why no one's having they say, well, it's very easily spread, but the symptoms are very mild. Well, that's because there is no computer system under the country of South Africa to control said nanites to make them more potent than they would otherwise have been, right? So that's kind of dying off.
Nanites were supposed to basically attack the body and do whatever they were told by some exterior system. The exterior systems,
You would basically be a robot. Yep. Your biological systems could shut down any time. They can turn you on, they can turn you off, right? So that was their hope and their plan.
And there isn't really a system even capable to do that right now, is it? Right? Like there's not isn't one that currently is in operation that's capable to do that. At least
as of this moment today, currently not at this second. The Space Force was busy trying to launch satellites yesterday, which I don't know. They just, well, they should have checked to see if they worked before they launched them. Really.
What is it? What is a satellite that doesn't work when you launch it? Is it just space dust? I mean, basically. Yeah.
A floater?
So I guess Space Force is kind of, that's their thing, like kids just firing things off into the wilderness. Yeah. Okay. Floater. Yeah, that makes sense.
A floater. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, but we are doing well. We are making progress. I hope all of you are making progress with your assemblies and getting all that together. We very much look forward to having a real government. I can't even talk today. For the people and by the people, right?
Yes, indeed.
So we talked a little bit about that last week, and I hope you're doing help for the holidays, right? Or helping hands. I hope you've got a program in your local area, so that would be great. UNN is going to be doing a little bit of that too. We have a bunch of kids in refugee camps and a bunch of other places of the world. So you can look forward to seeing that soon. I don't know if you have that video up, Tank.
I do not have it ready to go, and I'm not even sure what it is.
Slacker.
Yeah, it's kind of all over. But I will have an explanation of exactly what Kim's talking about with the helping hands, and I'll reach out to Paige to.
Hey, I've been working for 16 hours today, man.
I know.
And you can't even get a video.
Yes, really. Yesterday, Kim was up at it was like 9 o'clock my time. She'd already been up for like 7 hours from midnight. I'm like, jeez.
Yeah.
It's rough. So
there's a lot going on right now. And unfortunately, I can't control when the alarms go off, right?
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I could say, hey, can we reschedule this attack for between at least after 6 a.m. would be nice. Maybe 5 is good.
I will kick your ass later. Maybe we could do it then.
Yeah. Can we schedule this ass kicking for no, we do have I wish that worked that way. No, we have a few more things to clean up within the banking system, and then we'll be able to try again, right? So that should be coming up real soon. We never know what we're going to encounter. Hopefully they'll run out of systems sometime in the near future. There can't be much left in the way of systems, that are large enough to power, such a distraction. We'll always have hackers. We'll always have things like that. That's easy. Ransomware, malware. They're constantly putting all kinds of stuff like that in the banking system. The banking system is like Swiss cheese anyway. We did make some significant progress today in the completed, I should say, and permanent connection of the global repository. So that was good. We found that, how they kept kicking us out. So we were in and then we got kicked out. We were in, we got kicked out. So we figured out how they were doing that, and it had to do with rotating the ports and whatnot. So that's a different company that's doing that one, but we'll get there. And it's a global automated thing, and it's all from a central processing location, which we know have.
So once you identify the actual issue, and they're trying to basically stall humanity, stagnate everyone, commit genocide against everyone. There's those companies that are involved in this. Just as a general warning for any companies that might be approached in the future, those companies, all of the money they've invested to build their systems and everything else is basically eliminated and rendered useless for the most part, usually. Just as a rule, right? Just kind of
Yep.
Putting that out there for any company.
They could, of course, leave us alone. let us do our thing, and then you can keep what you've got left, fight another day, right?
Wow, I wonder if that's the thing, that they don't realize that's an option. You do not have to cooperate with the Order of the Black Sun, the Dragon families, the global deep state, the cabal, any other random group that claims that they own you, control you, or you owe them. You don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah,
Basically, you just be for the people.
exactly right. Or yourselves, or your kids, or your grandkids, you know?
Yeah.
I know
'Cause-
that's the way it always was, but it's not the way that it is right now. They are talking about, just as an FYI, and they are talking about just letting the whole system crash. They talked about buying it back, you know, the whole world or whatever for pennies on the dollar. Then they realized they didn't have the money to do that. And one guy asked if they had the money to do that, or what happens when we run out of money to do that. And, you know, then they wanted a war. You know, of course, they were working on the war. You see the crap with Putin and Biden, two dead guys having a conversation. You know, that's probably going to be a movie sometime. Two dead guys having a conversation. Yeah.
Yes, it's
But
true.
yep. And so there's purportedly tensions between Russia. Oh, they're going to pull the sanction thing again, or pull them off the SWIFT. You know, if you remember back about 3 or 4 years or something like that, they threatened, when Trump was in that house anyway, when Trump was in the house, they told him that they were going to remove the US from the SWIFT system. Not like anybody cares anyway. We have ACH, we have IBAN, we have all kinds of different things you can use. But the SWIFT system is French, just so you know. And the SWIFT system is run by Rothschild. So you can see who's threatening who when you know who owns what, right?
Right.
Yep. The Octagon is no longer functioning. Nobody is home there anymore. That was a few weeks ago, or a week or so ago.
Yeah, the Octagon ran out of like the Swiss Alps.
Well, yeah, the Octagon, they were not, the ones that were left in there were not human. And they would be giving orders to militaries and agencies around the world. They would have been the order giver to Mr. Black, right? And those folks, the Jesuits and whatnot. Mhm.
And they are no longer in operation. So the groups are really, they've run out of anybody with any significant strategic or advantage or a panoramic view or, you know, superpower of some kind that's basically giving them direction. So they're basically still following orders of people that have already been killed for giving those orders for the most part around there.
Yeah. Well,
From what you hear.
right now, they are at least our enemy. Let's say our enemy, the ones that are trying to kill us all, right? Or don't care if they kill us all. They're either going to control us or kill us or whatever it is they're trying to achieve over there, are completely and totally 99% other free. So now they have to think for themselves.
Freedom. Great, guys.
So-
Hey, now we can all accomplish the same goal. They're free and we're free. So, and, you know, actually free to think for yourselves rather than, you know, the freedom of thinking for yourself. You know what they'll do
And
now?
common sense is not all that common.
Not so common as it would,
No.
as it seems. Yeah, it's amazing.
No.
So, all right.
So we're counting on all of you to do it better, to rise
And
up.
if you
help your
don't, we'll
communities.
put a gaggle of monkeys in a room with some computers who will randomly press buttons, who can also do a better job, because these guys are absolutely ridiculous. And I agree with the others who came to that conclusion down there. But
Mhm.
humanity is exceptional. Humanity is exceptional. If we just realize we're exceptional. So please dare to be that.
They wouldn't work so hard at trying to control us if we weren't.
Yes.
Think about all of the things. If you go back and look at Life Force calls and just scan through the intel, think about all of the control mechanisms we've discussed, all of the things that they've lost, all of our achievements this year, right?
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
Deleting things out of the Hall of Records, removing all kinds of bad programs, the Project Mockingbird. None of this will ever get funding from anyone, anywhere, ever again. Not in gold and not in silver and not in anything else. The insurance companies are still tanking like a stone as they sell mandatory vaccines. However, they do not currently, and I will repeat this for them, probably are watching this too, they do not currently have any kind of database system capable at this moment in time of running it. Okay. Now, there is some talk and some chatter about, I don't know what you want to say, their version of a quantum system, and giving it some upgrades and trying to make it compatible using I think it's called a PGR program or a PRG program. Yeah.
Some rims and a lift kit. I heard it's going to be really dope.
Yeah, but see, the satellites don't work. So what are you connecting it to?
Good question. Yeah. Seems like they'd be rendered useless no matter what they did. And they have everybody doing busy work of which they can't pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody being employed by them under the ideology of they're going to be kings and rock stars and things like that. There's no way for them to pay out. They have no connection to the assets, the money. They have no authority over it. They don't have clearance. They don't have the computers. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the technology.
No.
Got it. Okay. So I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So the other side and all of us are simpatico. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very fair.
So we'll see what happens. I think this meeting is supposed to go on through the 11th. I think possibly. So we'll see how long they like hanging out down there. And people are coming and going. There's some that are participating via video calls and whatnot. So not everybody's actually physically down there. If they were, that would be really good for us.
That would be very efficient.
It would be very efficient. That's
for
right.
meeting purposes, it'd be very efficient. Yes.
Yeah, very efficient. Yeah. But, it's always good to listen to the plans of your enemy.
Yeah.
So you can be where you need to be. Yeah.
They still think they're in a skiff somewhere that's secret and protected. I always think that's funny that after all this time, they still think they're secrets. It's great.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to brand BRICS again. It's the other thing that's coming up. Yeah. BRICS is now going to save us all again, just like they were in 2014. They can't find a savior.
Yeah. Well, I did see Klaus with the latest Klingon gear, so I can tell he's really into some cool stuff there. But I know he was talking about the future narrative that they're going to have, the World Economic Forum, the future narrative meeting, because just telling people lies is very powerful, is basically what they're saying.
It is actually, they lied to those others to get them to come here, saying they had a deal with the Abraxas.
Wow, it works on them too? That's amazing.
It did.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
Maybe they just wanted it to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know how to work the collective consciousness like that, you would certainly know that the folks you're talking to are lying to you. But maybe they thought they would just easily manipulate it or something like that.
Imagine the world that we will create when people realize that you are not limited by all of your past experiences, previous limitations. None of those things really exist anymore, that you can literally create the exact world of your greatest imagination. Anything can happen right now. It's an amazing time. It really is. Like,
yeah,
I don't even, I have a pretty big imagination, but like, when you talk to somebody who's also excited, like I love talking to the wizard because, he's like a big kid, right? And so together we get so excited just thinking about all the possibilities, all the ways we can do amazing things, right? So I'm excited to see what the world becomes after that. So.
Me too. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So get to work, everyone. What are you listening to me for? Get your stuff done. Quit messing around.
All right. That it, Miss Possible? You good?
That's it. That's all I've got to say today. So at least for now.
So,
I made it to the call. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't fall
very
asleep
impressed.
on the call. So that's
Yeah.
good. Thanks to T.
Thank you so much for all the work that you've done and all your team. I can tell you for an absolute fact, I've seen it with my own eyes, that the work that has been done on your behalf with you in mind and considerate of who the people are, and not just the people but every person and all the possibilities of this planet. I can tell you that we are in good hands. That Kim has tireless and relentless, and she has done amazing work, and her whole team. So thank you so much for that. And with that in mind, everyone, I want to remind you, this is an absolute necessity of where we are at in the history of humanity. If you are exceptional, you have an obligation to be exactly that. So please do not dim your light for anyone. If there was ever a time to shine, to be amazing, to pursue greatness with reckless abandon, to figure out what your limitations are and ignore whatever you think they used to be, and find out what's possible in this world, it is right now. Because all the governing limitations, all the restrictions, all the evil entities and empires that have tried to kill you have rapidly collapsed around you. And standing in the midst of that is these incredible people all over the world. So please embrace that, be that, and let's go change the world.